We are joined in the studio this morning by Twin Falls, well, I almost said county commissioner, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, but he will be in about, let's see, count the months, 6 months. Don Hall joining us. Right now, he is Twin Falls City Councilman. And of course, he will be making that change a few months down the road. That's an advantage when you don't have anybody to run against in November, right?
Well, it is. It's. I say it's a blessing. So
Primary day was your election day.
yeah, primary, and it was a rough and tumble primary season for me, but we got through it.
And the job now just moves from one block about 3 blocks away, I think, when you look at where the new city hall is going to be.
Well, it is. Yeah, the new city hall is going to be on Main Street, of course, and I'll be moving to County West actually. So it'd be a
Way
few.
down on the other
Yeah,
end of town.
yeah, yeah. That's where my office will be in January.
They just ran out of room, of course, at the old building, and
They did. They did. Yeah, and there's obviously there's some debate whether they should have gone into the clinic or not instead of going to County West, but that's water under the bridge.
yeah,
They
it's a
went
little
to
bit
County West.
late for anyone who's got a complaint about
Yeah,
that at this point.
it absolutely is.
So we've still got work going on the new building. There was a story, of course. It's not a huge delay, but some of the work that needs to be done in that plaza area that will be outside of City Hall has been delayed by about 3 days, simply because the gas company was doing some work in the neighborhood.
Well, the gas company was doing some work, and unbeknownst to us, we didn't realize they were going to close as many streets as they have, and they're just trying to get in, get the job done, do it in a safe manner, and then move out. And then, of course, we found with the Rogerson, the demolition folks looked and saw some structural issues that it looks like when they do take it all the way down, that there's a potential it could fall, parts of it could fall into the Main Street area. So that would be precipitate us needing to close off Main Street. So that's kind of delayed it, and we want to make sure that it's first of all our primary and their primary concern is safety of our citizens. And then secondarily, obviously, the convenience of people being able to go and shop downtown and all those kind of things that are happening down there. Right now, it's inconvenient for them because anytime you have construction, it is, or destruction in this instance. And we just want to do it safely. But so what it looks like, and I think we're going to be sending out a press release here this morning. What it looks like is we're probably, the demolition folks are going to go in and close parts of Main Street around that Saturday evening at 7 o'clock, and then open it back up Monday morning. So what they're trying to do is minimize any impact on those merchants and citizens of Twin Falls.
Of course, now the headlines, and we're guilty of it here too at KLIX on our website. The headline, when you first see that, gives the impression you read it and you think, oh my gosh, they're going to be months behind, and it's 3 days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think it's going to put us behind much at all. I think it's just something. It was prudent for them to look at that, and the demolition folks and at the construction folks, Star and the like, are trying to do their due diligence. They've gone around to all the merchants in that area, knocked on their doors, and actually went in and talked to them. I think there's 4 that they haven't been able to get a hold of, but maybe they have since I've heard. But they're trying to make sure that this schedule is going to work for them.
I know that we tend to, in media and sometimes people in government, think that everyone is up to speed with all of this. But I was in the Idaho Youth Ranch store a few weeks back, and there were people who were, gee, what's going on outside? I mean,
Right.
and this has gotten a lot of coverage, but it doesn't necessarily mean everyone, or they've forgotten that it was taking
Well,
place.
yeah, absolutely. I always say this about information to the public. We are inundated with information in this age anyway. And so if we need a message to be sent to our community, we need to continually re-educate and resend because again, they're getting inundated from a bunch of different issues. And I have to do that on city council. I mean, we're intimately involved in some of these issues, but then we move on to 10 more and I have to go back and, refresh my memory where we are on some of these issues.
The city's growth, we were talking about off air, just a particular spot where we're growing really fast, and that's over on the north end. Some new developments with that Cheney bypass.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cheney bypass, as you know, North College goes through the campus, or yeah, it goes through the campus. And years ago, the college worked with some folks to try to come up with a different solution with the city as well. And so there's that Cheney bypass that will take off kind of over in front of the expo center and head more to the north and then eventually to the east to the road to nowhere, what it looked like over by Walmart on Washington, where we had signals and it looked like there was going to be a road there someday, but it was farm fields. Well, that's going to be a road. And it looks like, least at this point, a week from this Friday, that's probably going to be opened.
No, that the changes that were made on North College, the one thing I noticed, you have to sort of, if you're driving, you come down Washington and you want to go up the hill toward Blue Lakes, you've got to maybe take that jag to the left, and then you've got to double back to the right. I almost get is there going to be a traffic circle or something there, or how is that going to
No, I
work out?
think there's going to be a stop sign there, and part of the mentality, I believe, is we're trying to get folks off of that road as much as possible. It's still a thoroughfare, and we don't want to give that up for transportation and movement of our community. But that bypass is really meant to get people off of that, because again, remember, that's in the middle of our campus, the growth of the CSI campus. Right now, we have the health sciences building across the street on the
Hmm.
north side of, and there's plans to have more campus buildings over there in the future. So it just kind of makes sense to try to get most of the traffic off for the safety and convenience of our students.
When you move from one government to the other, because this is going to, I'm sure, come up. There's so much growth on that north end; it's spilling out beyond city limits, and anyone driving down to Filer or Buell can spot that. Uh, there's going to be some of these growth issues you're going to have to deal with. You're already dealing with them in the city, but we've occasionally taken calls on air from people who just say they think it's getting too crowded,
Yeah.
too much traffic around here,
Yeah.
and at some point, do we need a new plan or a better plan for what we're going to be see happening?
Well, that's that. Thank you. That's a great segue. One of the things I ran on um, for county commissioner is that I don't believe that we're doing enough planning. For example, the comprehensive plan's about 10 years old now for the county, and that needs to be updated. We're a completely different community in many respects from 10 years ago. We
Hmm.
have major industry moved here, and we have folks moving here, and so we need to engage our community and figure out how we want to see our community grow. Along with that is strategic planning for the county as well. And that's another thing that I ran. I was really shocked when I found out the county did not have a strategic plan, an overarching strategic plan that can dovetail into the comp plan and all those other things, and engaging the community regarding that. So planning is essential. We need to engage our community and ask them. Now we have conflicting sometimes issues with farm and how the cities are growing and development and all those kind of things. I think we can mitigate those things. We can visit with those folks. We need to plan where that growth is going to take place. There's obviously ranchers and farmers that want to continue their lifestyle, their which brought us who we are. I mean, that's the foundation of Twin Falls County. The Magic Valley is our farming and ranching industry, and so we need to engage those folks and make sure that we're doing what the whole community wants us to do.
914, of course, Don Hall is joining us from the Twin Falls City Council, and we have 74 right now on News Radio 1310 KLIX and News Radio 1310.com. The show is Top Story with Bill Colley. I had a friend who owned a huge farm back east when I was living on the eastern shore of the Chesapeake. Uh, he had an enormous farm where he grew soybeans and he had cattle and the like. But he told me one time there was a lot of argument going on in that area about rapid development, and he said on the flip side of all this, he said, it's the day when I come decide to sell. He said, that's my retirement fund is to sell this farm to a developer. He said, that's the only way he said I can afford to retire. So there are going to be some people too, though, who are ranchers who are looking around saying, aha, I see 500 homes here. And when something like that happens, it changes the character of a neighborhood really fast too.
Well, it does. And that's the other thing. I'm a huge advocate of property rights. If a rancher or a farmer has property and it makes sense, it's within the comp plan for them to sell it to a developer eventually. Maybe they don't have someone in their family that wants to take it on, and that is their retirement fund, then they have the right to do that. And so you've got to balance those things with trying to protect and help those that are in that industry. But at the same time, what if a farmer says, "Hey, this is my retirement. I want to utilize the fruits of all my labor, all these years. I want to sell it now and be able to retire." They have the right to do that.
The big challenge, of course, with any of this is you got to have the pipelines going out, you've got to have the utility poles going out, and so those are the things that I guess become a little disruptive to all of this. And I doubt we'll see. we'll see a period without construction going on around here well beyond our lifetimes, right? So
Well,
we've got to
yeah.
deal with this perpetually.
Yeah, you know, I always point back to some of the studies that we saw a few years ago coming out of Utah. I think college there. A gentleman was doing some studies about the Snake River Plain, and that's what we're right in the middle of the Snake River Plain. And he talked about the future growth. We are going to grow. It's going to happen whether we go out and try to attract jobs and industry or not. We're going to grow, and we have to plan for that. We need to. That's why these planning documents are so important. We need to figure out where the infrastructure should be and try to plan for that before to help minimize the impact on folks. We need to look at areas that make more sense for us to grow in, whether that's industry or commerce or residential, instead of not having a plan.
We got about 2 minutes to go. You'll be going over to the county government, living in the city, and obviously we've had city voices there already, but you've got other voices that come from out in the county. Is it important to have that city voice still?
Oh, that's a really good point, and I'll try to make this quick. I actually had a conversation with some folks this morning that were teasing me a little bit. Oh, you're leaving, you're going to be representing the county now. And I said, listen, you have to remember the city residents, whether you're in Murtaugh, Hanson, Buell, Twin Falls, Kimberly, wherever, you are also a county resident. You are being double taxed. You are paying county
Hmm.
taxes as well as your municipal taxes. You've done that on purpose because you wanted the infrastructure and the conveniences for live. So all voices in the county, including those living in the city, they have a voice with what the county does.
And I was going to say, there's a rivalry sometimes that we see, but ultimately, what goes on in Twin obviously impacts the rest of the county because if you live in Murtaugh or you live out in Castleford, you likely still work in the city.
Absolutely, or you shop here, or you do something here. So again, we shouldn't be on different pages here. I think what we should be partners, and we should look at these issues together. Because what happens in Twin is going to affect somebody in Murtaugh. Something that happens in Hanson is going to affect somebody here in Twin or Buell.
Sure.
And so we need to look at that more holistically.
Well, I want to thank you for coming by today. I think since primary to this is the first time you've been in the studio.
It is. It is.
It's a full month.
Do I look more relaxed after the election
You
season?
certainly do. And the fact of the matter is Jack has to go through this
He
all over
does.
again.
He does.
You can just sort of relax a little bit.
I can. However, I still need to be elected in the general, and the only one that could run against me is a write-in, of course. But I'm just really looking forward. I was humbled by the overwhelming support. I received about 62% of the votes, and to do that with an incumbent, that's pretty good. So
Sure.
thank you all for supporting me, and my door's always open. I'll listen to your concerns.
I want to thank Don Hall for coming by today. It's 20 minutes after 9 o'clock, and we've got 74. You're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com.